I would like to place a collect call to Ouch.
This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by
nhliberty.org. nhliberty.org.
It's always good to try and spot the weak links in our chains. Well, actually, that could be taken two ways. If we were to be able to spot the weak links in the government's chains that they put on us, then that would be one thing. But what I'm actually talking about is spotting the weak links in our chains of activism in New Hampshire. And of course, I could probably make a pretty long list if I were just talking about that in general, but I want to focus a little bit more on the media, the weak links in our public relations or dissemination of information. I think the number one weak link is the failure to write letters to the editor in large quantities. At least that's the number one weak link we have full control over. My experience has been there's about 4 relatively major New Hampshire newspapers that will reliably print letters to the editor. These are the Concord Monitor, the Union Leader, the Keene Sentinel, and the Laconia Citizen. Each of these have advantages and disadvantages. None is really massively better than the others. I would say of all the different types of activism I did when I first moved here, the most effective was those letters to the editor. I've kind of fallen away from that now that I'm doing videos. But I used to crank out about 100 a year. It's something anyone can do if you live in the state. And I urge you to make a habit of doing it. You know, roughly the maximum amount of times that each paper will allow. Just pick up a copy or look at the online version. One of those 4 papers. Shouldn't take you more than 15 or 20 seconds to find an article there that pisses you off. Type up a quick response under 200 words preferably and send it in. Spew that liberty message. Some folks who have been doing a good job of filling in another weak link, however, are the guys over at a new radio program, nhlibertyradio.com. To me, audio about New Hampshire activism is another of the weak links. We have Free Talk Live, of course, but they're bogged down with a lot of stories that are outside New Hampshire. For someone like me who's really not very interested in what's going on in Texas or California, Free Talk Live is virtually full of holes. You don't have that problem with nhlibertyradio.com. Of course, it's just a podcast at this point, but I think they're doing a pretty good job with it. I wish it was on more often or for a longer period of time. The third, maybe, weak link that I see in terms of communication might be the lack of what I'll call a Liberty scanner. This would be sort of like an always-on version of Porcupine 411, a channel on your computer or something like that that you could tune into, and it would immediately play incoming 411 calls, within a minute or two of them coming in. You could just leave it on and go about your day. This is a lot like what people in newsrooms do. They have a police scanner, they leave it on in the background while they're writing. When I was a TV news photographer, I used to, if my morale was high enough at a given point, sleep with a scanner on. It didn't wake me up very much. But if I heard excited talk on the scanner, that would always wake me up. And it usually meant there was something newsworthy going on. Maybe we could do something similar with 411. And better yet would be to integrate that somehow with non-internet communications, like CBs or other types of radios. Anyway, those are the weak links I see in our mass communication chain, assuming that there are no mass power outages or internet disruptions. These are the things we could do that would be most effective. that we're not doing much of yet. I may post some relevant links on the video description for this clip. By the way, I didn't mention calling talk radio because it does seem like a lot of our activists in some areas are doing it. What I think we might need to see more of is calls to the Concord area station, 107.7, The Pulse. They have local talk show that goes on almost all afternoon on weekdays. It's very easy to get on the air there. I could be wrong about this, but I also don't think I really noticed much in the way of calls to Dan Mitchell's show in the mornings in Keene on weekdays. For some reason, it seems like all the calls flood into talkback, but Mitchell's just as useful to talk to. I do think it's important when you call, though, to try and be on topic. You don't want to hijack a show that doesn't like to be hijacked. They're not all Free Talk Live. The New Hampshire Liberty Movement had the ability to reach 700 million people a year, as opposed to what we probably are currently reaching is more like 20 million. Well, we would be much closer to freedom. I kind of just pulled that 20 million figure out of my head. I'm basing that on the idea that Free Talk Live is thought to get about 300,000 listeners per night, and every night they do talk about the Free State Project, for what that's worth. And of course, you add to that, we're at 300,000 a night. I mean, if it's 365 nights a year, I don't know what that would total out to. It depends on how many repeat listeners they have. You add in the 100 or 200 mainstream media articles about us per year and other different means of dissemination. I'm guessing roughly 20 million people per year hear about the Free State Project. Well, it would be nice to have that number much higher. And you can help make it much higher. All you need to do is take a look at the video description. I'll have some details for you on how you can help make that happen.
It is said, or certainly could be said, hell hath no fury like a well-intentioned government. Well, I don't know how good the intentions are over here, but I can tell you that the folks at the State House in Concord, New Hampshire, are not interested in protecting your freedom for the most part. They're taking it away piece by piece. Fortunately, unlike in most states, they're not doing it without a fight. That is in large part due to the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance at nhliberty.org. Now, if you were to go into the State House there behind me and do this, you would hit one of the members of the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, because they're in there all over the place fighting for your freedom. They also offer free training if you want to learn the ways of the Citizen Freedom Lobby. Visit them at nhliberty.org.